What's good, guys? My name is Mike Will at m.visuals on Instagram. Yeah, I'm a full-time creator, full-time photographer. Also run a community called UK.shooters and World Shooters, and we host photography events.
And hello everyone, मैं हूँ सबसे भारी Akash Tiwari, and today's conversation is gonna be with Mike Will, who has already introduced himself. And I'm not gonna take much of your time because you guys are not interested to see my face and my voice. But yeah, if you can explain your night cityscapes and light trails, the meaning about light trails and long exposure to normal audience.
Oh yeah. So being based in London. No, hang on. Let me start again. Yeah, so long exposure and night photography is why I started. Being based in London, I loved shooting at night. It was something a bit different, and not many people were shooting at night. And yeah, basically you can see in my photography, if you go to my page at m.visuals, you'll see a lot of my stuff is based around night photography and long exposure. And that's whether it's catching the bus trails and light trails of cars and buses, or if it's some of the portraits that I shoot. And also I tour with some DJs as well. So a lot of that is obviously night and nightlife based photography. And yeah, it's just kind of what I enjoyed and became my signature style really with the blues.
In your entire career, you have been into night photography for a long time. Okay. So what's the weirdest or the strangest thing you have ever witnessed during night? Like, it can be good, it can be bad, it can be 18 plus. You feel free to tell.
There haven't been any horror stories or anything of people like muggings or anything like, so all that's been good. Like we've had a good time. I don't know if I've had any funny. I'm trying to think.
Weirdest, strangest. Come on, dude. There are so many things, so many people.
There's not many. Drunk people are the classic. So drunk people will jump in front of the camera and they'll think that, you know, I'm doing like a 10-second, 20-second exposure, and they think it's just a normal one. So they'll jump in and they'll be like, take a photo of us, and then you have to take a photo because there's no point in saying no because they're going to wait until you take a photo. So I've learned that you just make sure you say yes. And you just pretend you're pressing the button, or you even press it, and then they go, yeah, cool, and then they walk off. But that's a classic, especially in London. Drunk people are always around, but yeah.
Okay, pretty smooth and pretty easy one. Most of your photographs are like you getting into buildings, cities. So tell me that, did you get permits for getting entry into this building, or it was illegal?
So to begin with,
I got
some of it. When I first started my photography journey, a lot of it was rooftoping. Okay. I don't know how legal it was, but now obviously this is my full-time job. So it's definitely has changed, and I can get permits and permission to go to. So all of the recent stuff you'll have seen, I've been given permission by the buildings and the building managers and stuff to get me up there and take photos. So yeah, okay. It's all legal.
Okay, but I still got my answer. As you said, you're a full-time photographer. Okay, so I just want to, this is like a headline question, because as artists, we all need to know how people are earning, how people are surviving, and how people are managing throughout the world. So you're a full-time photographer. So let's come to this point. Like, how do you manage your income? How are you earning?
Yeah, so a lot of it is sponsored posts. So I'm very fortunate to have a good social following on Instagram. So a lot of it is through that. And then client work as well. I'm very lucky to have some high-end clients that I work with regularly, such as Samsung, Sony, Google. I just started working with Xbox. So a lot of really great clients that I'm very lucky that I'm on their books. So that's how my income comes in through them really. And I'm fortunate to have some bigger clients on my list.
Yeah. But like, are you earning through Cityscapes? Or that's just passion?
No, so that's just fun. But you'll see some of the Cityscapes may be a sponsored post because they may be for a brand that wanted something in my style, and I've gone out and shoot it. Yeah, so a lot of Sony stuff, a lot of Vodafone stuff, for instance, which is the network provider. They wanted a lot of my light trails with the light painting, so that worked really well. So that was in my style. They wanted me to go out and just get creative with it, and I've been a customer for them for years. So I like working with brands that I have association with and brands that I work with. Well, I already have. So all these brands I'm working with are brands that I've already been involved with just because I like them. And then for them to reach out to me is always amazing, because then I'm like, yeah, that's the perfect brand I want to work with. But the Cityscape stuff, not so much. I'm going to be launching a print store actually next week. So hopefully by the time this is out, I'll have that ready. So you can go and hopefully buy some of the Cityscapes if anyone's interested. Yep. But yeah, that's been one of my lockdown projects, has been sorting out prints. But other than that, so a lot of it's product work and product shots for their social media and website and stuff.
As a photographer, how did you get that Sony ambassador deal? They approached you, you approached them, or how did it happen? You were just putting out content and things happen, or how?
Yeah, so with the ambassadorship with Sony, I met them at several events. I had a reasonably decent social following, and I just reached out.
What was your following?
I think I may have been about 30K, maybe.
Okay.
And I reached out several times, but I didn't think that they were going to be, overly interested. But I knew that shifts were going on within Sony because Sony didn't have any UK-based European imaging ambassadors that were what I would call the new school guys. They weren't the young. We have some on the Sony team. We have some amazing wedding photographers and old school press photographers and landscape photographers and sports photographers, cycling, football. Some great photographers but there was nothing that was kind of in social media with a high social following and also that shot more stuff that I shoot, or what I would call the new age shoots, urban, city, that kind of stuff. So I reached out several times, and then I ran an event for them through the shooters community that I run. So that was really great. So I had several meetings with them, and they obviously knew who I was, but they were very interested in the community as well, on the side of things. When we run these events, we can get like 400, 500 photographers all coming and checking out whatever product we have available for people to test out. And it was obviously with Sony. They loved it.
What does ambassador and an influencer mean? Like, what are their job, or what exactly they do?
So an ambassador, I think, is very different from an influencer. So the ambassador side of things is, so for instance, with Sony, so that will be, I get to test out new lenses. I work with them on projects in terms of I'll run workshops. I'll do talks talking about photography, and obviously in particular Sony and the capabilities of some of their cameras. And I'm just generally, I guess it's also been very natural for me because I was such a big fan of Sony. Being an ambassador is something that I was already doing. I was already saying how great their cameras were. I was already a massive fanboy of loving the stuff that they were producing and putting out there. So yeah, I guess that's kind of what you do as an ambassador. You help them and you work with them on projects, and you work with them at a very close level. They want your feedback as well on the product, and maybe what you would like to see and what your experiences have been with certain product or whatever it might be. So that's great as well to give them feedback on that. And then you've got like the influencing. So that's very different. I guess that's my main source of income is through my photography page, which is then working on social campaigns and paid adverts for lots of different brands around, mainly the UK, but obviously around the world as well. And then, so for those, you're creating content and pushing product or pushing certain adverts out. We can just use Vodafone as a good example again. That was the influencing was done there because they wanted to showcase their new network and the new speeds and just basically get their name out there, obviously, for people. So that was like an influencing campaign where I was promoting their network and what they were doing and what they were putting forward. And obviously that content is then also used by them on their social channels or website, or whatever. So I guess I don't see myself as like an influencer. I see myself as more of a content creator that has influence because I have a high social following, but I'm more based on the content creation side of things. So some brands will come to you and go, "Oh, can you just post this?" And it'll just be like a picture of something. And that's obviously, well, some people will say, "Yes, that's fine. I'll post a photo of your stuff." Whereas for me, I'm like, no, that's not what I do. I'm a content creator. I will create the content myself. And if you don't want that, that's fine. And I won't work with you. So again, those kind of things are what influencers, I'd say, more involved with.
Okay, so as ambassadors, do you guys get products? And that's
we get that product. We don't get paid or anything. So it's not like Sony never paid me to say anything. I wouldn't say whatever. So if I was to do a workshop for them, as I said, or let's say I'm doing a 2-day workshop where we've got all these people coming in and I'm teaching them basics of photography or basics of nightlife photography or whatever, then I have the option to get paid in money, but also in gear. So I usually get paid in gear because it makes sense, because you can get a lot more for your money, and they'll give you some cool stuff. So I've done a lot of that, and that's how my kind of gear list has got bigger and bigger from working on events with them.
So let's just come into your creative process, because cityscapes and light trails are basically creative photography. Okay. So like what is your planning process? What is your creative process? How do you plan your locations? What is it? How do you start from scratch?
Yeah, I do actually like to plan and look and see what the locations. I don't really go in with a I'm going to get this specific shot, but I go in with I want to shoot around this location. and I have a few different areas that I want to test out and just see. A lot of it's based around traffic, because I love using bus blurs or whatever it might be, that, or tram blurs if I'm in another country somewhere, and using them. So if there's a location I'll go to, I'll do kind of a full loop of it, check it out, see where maybe the best spot would be to get some blurs, and then start shooting. And if there's nothing, then I'll then start to try and get creative with the light painting with a cell phone light, or I have a light stick, which is here actually, which is what I use for a lot of the light painting stuff, which is super cool. So again, like, I'll have that with me for a lot of shoots. So then again, I can then get creative with that if it's kind of at ground level. But obviously if I'm shooting from a rooftop view or a building that has, you know, an amazing view of the cityscape, then that's very much, I'm like, right, okay, I just get up there and just see it, because then once I'm up there, you can get creative in terms of just seeing the different angles and seeing the different viewpoints, really. And obviously having multiple lenses helps a lot, because if you have a zoom lens, you can get one shot with it, and then, you know, you have a super wide angle, that's, you know, several other shots. So again, that really helps with different shot selections.
Yeah. What are your light trail settings?
Okay, so for bus blurs on ground level, if I'm looking to just get like the London bus blur, that'll be probably 2 seconds, so not long, because you want to get like enough of the blur, but you also don't want to have it really long where you don't pick up, where the camera doesn't pick up like kind of the red side of the bus. You want the lights, and you need it long enough to get a nice blur. So that's probably 2.5 seconds. But from a viewpoint, it really depends. If I'm in a building, it depends on basically what lens I'm on, and also what I'm shooting, because it doesn't necessarily have to be long, because I'd like to have it like f8, but if it's at I don't know, 5.6 or something, it's not a big deal. Like, I can still get away with it. If it's in a couple of seconds, that's fine. And yeah, like, so it doesn't really matter for that. It's whatever I can get it to get the best results, really, for the quickest time, so I can take as many shots as possible.
So have you ever shot on celluloid films also, or directly like digital?
Well, actually, so I studied film when I was at college. So film photography is what I studied years and years ago. And then I never picked up a camera for about 10 years, 8 years. And then the first thing I picked up was digital. So I learned how to shoot on film. I learned everything on that. And I'd never learned how to do any editing. I'd never learned how to do any digital. And then I picked up a digital camera, and that's how my career started. And I've never been back to my grassroots and picked up a film camera again and then developed. But yeah, so I guess I have, but not for, man, you're looking at like 14 years now since I did film.
Why did you study photography and then you went into sports and then again coming into photography? Like, why? Why did you leave ice hockey?
Yeah, so I wanted to be a professional athlete, and that was my dream. And I always enjoyed being creative as well. It was fun, but I didn't see a future in it, in terms of, especially back then, there wasn't Instagram and it wasn't like a thing, social media. So it was a very hard, like, there was wedding photography was like one avenue, and then there was like the very high end, you know, art gallery photographers who had, you know, working for years, and that was pretty much it. So I was like, this is, you know, it doesn't make sense. And I was like, in sport, it's what I love. I can hopefully make a career of it. So I chased that dream, and yeah, as you said, I was a pro athlete. I actually just announced my retirement yesterday, which is cool. Yeah, so I've officially retired from ice hockey, but I played pro for 10 years, chased that dream.
I know.
Yeah, it was great fun, amazing to have done, amazing to have been a part of and play for like Team GB and some of the best teams around. So that was amazing.
Why did you leave and why did you retire?
Yeah, well, photography's now taking over, and I have lots of projects and lots of really exciting ideas and things I want to do. Yeah. And it was just way too hard. Like, I was working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And no matter, even if I was on the, you know, bus to a road game for hockey, I'd still be there with my computer, and I'd be typing away and doing emails. And then, you know, we get back, and then I'd still be working the next day. And then I'd maybe have to go to London for a meeting, and then I'd come back, and then I'd have the game, and then I'd have a meeting the next day. And so it was just like, it was just constant.
Exhausting,
like, it was just a lot. And, you know, I think I pushed doing both for long enough. It was kind of been 3 years now where I've been juggling both almost full time. But especially the last year has been very taxing. And the team, again, like, they gave me all the support I needed. You know, if I needed to miss practice to go somewhere, they allowed that, which again is incredibly rare, and you wouldn't get that anywhere, really. Like, you know, if you're a pro athlete, that's your job. You know, you have to work out, eat healthy,
Yep.
get a good night's sleep, and then get up again and do the same thing and work out and practice. So for me to be able to do other things was incredibly supportive of the team, but they knew that was my direction for the future. And again, obviously, it's not everyone can see what you're doing because you post on Instagram. So the coaches knew that I was having success because they could see all these brands I was working with. And then the boys obviously followed me and were super supportive and loved it. And that was really great to see, because again, I wouldn't have been able to do it without all of that. So yeah, having that support was great. And it was amazing to have played hockey for so long, but the time was right just to move on. And now working on some super cool stuff for the next year or so coming up. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the new challenge.
There are a lot of my friends who are, confused, because as you said, it took few sacrifices, right, to get here where you are right now. Like how did you make those choices? Because right now we are in this stage, either we can do this or we should do this, or like, how do we know that this is perfect or not? Okay. So when you decided that you need to get into full-time photography, so what was that one thing you identified and then you said, chalo, let's do it?
Yeah. I think, one thing was my time. My time was so like caught up in everything. I didn't have time to do both anymore. It was just too much. And I think gut feeling, like having a feeling of this is what I want to do, and having excitement, like obviously hockey really excited me, but it had been the last thing I'd done for probably 10 years. Whereas photography has been something I've been doing for the last few years. And I guess for me, that gives me so much excitement and knowing that it's new and fresh. So I think that was something really, really important that I just felt deep down. I was like, wow, this is, it's coming, it's moving forward and it's exciting and I'm happy. And this is something that I want to do for the future. And I think that obviously, unfortunately with pro sports, everyone has to retire at some point because age becomes a factor, your body. And I look quite young, but I was the oldest on the team. So I had this like veteran presence more than something else, more than other people, obviously, because of my age. So
how old
again, I'm 32, but everyone thinks I'm about 25. So.
Oh, rude. Okay.
So yeah. So again, like that's how make the decision. But I think for a lot of people, the decision is as you say, like which direction do I go in? It's the most scary route is usually the correct route, and the simplest route is not necessarily the best thing to go down because it's safer. And a lot of people that want to become content creators or something that doesn't have stability is very scary, and taking risks is something that not many people do. And I guess when I was younger, I took that risk, not really knowing how much in the future it would impact my life. And now I know that risk taking is just the way to go, because you know what I mean? Okay. So if my content creation, I don't become a full-time content creator, I can always go and get another job. But unless you go and try it, you'll never know. And there's always people that maybe 1 year I'll do this, or maybe 1 year I'll travel, or maybe 1 year I'll attempt to become like a graphic designer, or I'll attempt to become whatever. I don't see the point in waiting. Obviously, to a certain extent, you need to make sure that you have that skill set and you work hard enough and you put in the hours to then have the network to be able to do it. But at some point, you need to just do it. And that's when, obviously, the success will happen, is because you have to just go for it and, 100% send and just get on with it.
One shittiest moment you ever remember? Like, it could be a brand product shoot, it could be a model shoot, or anything. Like, okay, just your solo shoot, but one shittiest moment you remember?
Shittiest moment was forgetting my battery for a shoot. When you go to turn your camera on, and you're there, and you're like, why isn't this working? And then you look and you realize you've not got no battery, and I didn't have a spare either. So, and that was like really, really shitty. Like I literally wanted the world just to swallow me up. I was like, this is my life's over. I've just messed up. Can't shoot this. It was a shoot for a brand, so I had to do it the next day. I mean, it sounds like it's not that bad, but that was really bad.
Yeah. Are you able to work on your skill sets, or do you get time to work on your skill sets, or paid things and these things, they just, they fuck up your mind? That's the reason.
Yeah.
How do you work on your skill sets?
Yeah, very good question. And again, that's one of the reasons why now photography is becoming my main thing, because there are lots of projects, as I said, that I want to work on. And the only things I could work on were jobs that were coming in, because they would take priority, obviously. So now I have time to do some more passion projects, and I have time to work on some skill sets that I really want to work on myself. So yeah, you're right. That is one of the things that now is going to have the opportunity to do. But up until now, it's always has been, the highest priority is those paid shoots. And sometimes they're really fun, but sometimes they're not so fun. And so you got to balance it. And obviously that's why, again, I want to make sure I have time for passion projects and projects that I want to do to learn and better myself as a creator.
Are you planning or are you thinking about some strategy? How can you turn those passion projects into monetary things like the Night Cityscapes? As you said, there are only few times you get paid for it. Let's start passion.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah, I mean, it depends on what it is, but I mean, an idea with that is, for instance, I don't know, I go to Sony and I say, listen, I've got this project I really want to shoot on the new 12 to 24. I'm going to go here. This is my passion project. Do you have any money to put behind it? And then they may say yes, they may say no. And then, if not, then I can maybe approach another brand and say, hey, listen, this is a shoe brand. I'll be like, right, this is the thing I want to do, Night Cityscapes, but it's going to be all about, going through the city at night in your urban trainer. Yeah. And so I'd picture these ideas and each thing I would pitch to, if I wanted to, I'd pitch it to a brand and just obviously customize it to that brand themselves.
So how do you approach them? How do you approach them if you're approaching a brand?
It really depends. A lot of them are through agencies. A lot of agencies run all the brands. So you reach out to agencies and say, hey, listen, like we've worked I'm very lucky. I've worked at a lot of agencies. So I will reach out to agencies and say, hey, listen, I've got this idea. And then I'm also quite good at networking in terms of if I have worked through an agency, I always make sure I try and meet the brand or at least get their email or speak to them. And a lot, again, if you produce some high quality work for them, a lot of the brands actually reach out individually afterwards or even during the campaigns to then say, wow, thanks so much. We've loved your work. Like I did a campaign for Nissan cars, never had contact with them. But then during the second campaign that I shot, the content went live. They then messaged me individually from their personal accounts, just saying, wow, thanks so much. Like we absolutely loved this. You did such a great job. Best shots I've ever had. And then I knew who the head of UK Nissan was. So I was like, okay, amazing. Like if, you know what I mean? So then I know who potentially to approach in the future if something else comes up. Same with Vodafone. Vodafone, I met Vodafone personally now, so I know them. I did a panel talk and then they messaged me after saying thanks so much on their personal account. So again, it's having that personal relationship. Same thing happened with Samsung. I worked with Samsung on a massive project for the release of the S9 and then really fortunately just met someone from Samsung at the event, started talking, wasn't really sure who he was, turned out he was head of PR in the UK. He messaged me afterwards, said thanks so much, really loved your work, let's meet up and discuss what else we can do. So again, we met up and then obviously it went through the agency for the next project. But again, so it's all about that networking and trying to meet the brand at the actual level that you can and then pitching those ideas afterwards. So whatever idea I have, I'm happy to do it on my own, but if I can get the support of a brand, then great, because then they can fund it. So
and that's what a lot of photographers complain, like the budding ones. They say like you need a contact to get into, and we don't have a contact, but you need to build that network yourself, and that's
exactly. And that comes with time. Like it didn't happen. It didn't happen after my first day of shooting. It didn't happen after my first year of shooting. It happened, and this is after 4 years of like absolute hustling and doing as much as possible and reaching out and networking events and meeting other photographers and meeting other people. And it's also, you meet other people. You go to something else that you think's just an event. Like I went to an event for a launch. It was for Columbia Sportswear. So I was working with Columbia Sportswear. They're a clothing brand. Went there. It wasn't like anything to do with really my work. I mean, I shot the campaign, but again, it wasn't anything to do with photography. Went there, met someone from Red Bull. Red Bull then sponsored one of my next events. So, those things don't necessarily happen where you think, right, I'm going to this event because I'm going to go and meet Red Bull. I went because I was like, well, I'll see who I meet and it'll be fun just to see what the campaign's about. And then suddenly, because of that, I'm then working with Red Bull on a campaign. So like, do you know what I mean? So these things happen from nowhere and it's all about a time and putting the effort and time in to then get those network in place.
Okay. So like a pro tip that if you get into some events or anything, so how do you start your network? Like one thing is like you can do a podcast like I'm doing with you right now and I'm building my network. And so now I know you, I have your number, Mike knows Akash, and that's how I'm connected. But if I'm a photographer and if you're getting into an event, one pro tip Like, how do you talk to people, or how do you network?
Be approachable. Listen to what people have to say. Listen to who you don't know who anyone is. So it's all about speaking to everyone and just being genuine. Be genuinely excited about anything that person is saying or doing, because it will come across in that way, and they'll want to talk to you more.
But do event guys and head talk to you? Like it's usually vice versa. Like they talk less and we need to approach them. I've heard about it this way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So yeah, when you're going in, but again, it's like, it's a case of just being, I guess it's a case of just being polite and being not, I would never go into a conversation and say, hey, what's up? I'm Mike Will. I have 85,000 followers on Instagram. What do you do? I'd like to, how can you help me? How can I work with you? I'm a pretty big deal. I like photography. I never say what I do or what I say. They might say, what do you do? And I say, oh, I'm a content creator. And then that's it. And then they will then ask you, and you can find out. And then eventually, if they don't, ask anything further, and you find out who they are, and you find out they're Red Bull, you then say, oh, no way, like I've got this really great idea, actually. I'm a content creator and I'm running this event, or I'm going to shoot this campaign, or I've had this idea. Let's exchange emails, because it would be great to discuss them. And meeting someone rather than just emailing a random brand is the way to actually like concrete who you are, within them, because otherwise you're just yet another person in the emails. But I guess it's just a case of getting out there as well, not having any fears, not having any worries. When you're out because there's lots of networking events, there's lots of things. You can find out about these online as well. So it's going to the events and going to meet other people. It's just meeting as many people as you can. And it's hard. Like sometimes people aren't that sociable and don't have the social interaction that you necessarily would need. But it's about getting out of your comfort zone and trying to just do it. And as you said, like once you have one contact, that will lead to several more. And these contacts, as I said, like aren't necessarily going to happen when you think. They could just happen when you're at a local park and you're walking your dog, and suddenly you get chatting to someone else who's got the same dog as you, and they it turns out they work for Microsoft, and you're like, oh my god, that's mad. Like I'm a content creator, and then they go, oh, that's cool. All right, well, I'll put you in contact with our marketing team or whatever it might be. And that's how again, like that's how things can happen. So don't ever think that there's never a time to network, because I network 24 hours a day.
Okay. I loved your Night Cityscapes. Okay. I genuinely loved it. I'm not just saying because I'm doing your podcast, because how do you visualize that? A lot of people might have been there where you are right now, the place you are, but they wouldn't visualize it, or they wouldn't look at things that way. So how have you trained yourself, or how do you visualize?
So I had I don't know, because it's a hard one to answer, because it's just what I see. And I guess that's why the creativity I have is what I have. And that's maybe why I have excelled with what I'm doing, is because when I do go out, I see something that's not necessarily there. And because it's at night, a lot of people wouldn't see that. And at night, everyone's, it's very dark. You see the street lamps and you see what's in front of you. Whereas I see a much bigger picture and try and tell, and that's what I try and do. I try and tell that story of what I'm seeing, which is obviously what you just pretty much said then.
See, that's what people need to respect about, because people just see a picture and that's it. Oh, that's nice, liked, double tap and gone. Like, they don't understand the whole perspective, the view, how much time it has taken to develop those skill sets. And also people need to understand a lot of things and they don't know about it.
Exactly. No, it's very true. And a big part of it is in the edit as well. A big part of it is knowing what my camera will capture and what I can then pull out of it edit wise, with the kind of neon blues and lifting the shadows to make sure that there's some details there. So again, a lot of it is in that, but I can kind of see that before I take it. And then when you take it on the camera and people are like, it looks okay. And then I go, no, I know what I see. And then I can see it. And then I know in Lightroom afterwards, then it's pulled and it's there.
That's the difficult process. Until you don't show that to people, it's like, what's going on? And
exactly.
You need to believe in yourself.
Yeah. I guess just for everyone watching, firstly, thanks for tuning in and listening to us. And thanks to you for having me on. And I guess, just go out and do it. Like, have fun with it. Enjoy the process. Doesn't happen overnight. Just make sure that you follow through on what you want to do, and just keep on doing it until you can make it your full-time thing. So
Yes.
Yeah.
And when are you coming to Mumbai?
I'd love to come to Mumbai. I just need to get. I need to get the world needs to open up. Obviously, right now we're in the place we're in. It's just not an option. But yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to come out. So hopefully, it's on. It was on my list for 2021. So it might have to be 2022 now. Because everything's just getting pushed back. But yeah, it's definitely on there for me to come out. So when I do, I'll hit you up and we'll meet up. I'll give you I'll give you tips. I can teach you.
Yeah. I'm gonna join you. And we're gonna have fun, man. You would be shooting it, but I'm just gonna enjoy the process.
Okay, perfect. It's all about networking, right? And this is networking. Me and you just having a chat, networking.
So thank you so much, Mike. Thank you so much
no
for
worries,
agreeing
dude.
to do this.
Great to meet you, and hopefully in the future we can meet up and
we're gonna meet. For sure, we're gonna meet. Thank you so much, Mike. Yep.
All right, take care.